So with this next one, you had mentioned this a little bit at the beginning when you were starting to talk about, I think it was Dak Prescott, where he finished every year as the top 12 QB. And you talked about this guy, Drew Brees, who's finished as a perennial top 12 QB as well. My bold prediction is that this is the year that he finishes outside of the top 12 QBs. And okay, before you leave, all right, I'm gonna let you know why. Okay?
I don't think it's horrible, by the way. I'm not leaving. I don't know if listeners are leaving. I don't hate it. I actually don't hate it.
If you're a Saints fan, I know you're probably not listening anymore because Saints fans are ridiculously combative about Drew Brees and this entire and their entire team. But listen. There's if you guys have heard, I did a podcast with Saturday Morning Snap, Mac from Saturday Morning Snap. He threw out the stat, which is something that I kind of already knew, but he kind of put it more into numbers, right? From 2010 to 2016, the Saints have ranked second in terms of passing attempts every single year, except for 2013. And in 2013, they actually ranked fourth in passing attempt.
And they won the Super Bowl that year, too, didn't they? That was the year when they were more run-heavy and they won the Super Bowl, which I know is probably what you're getting towards, but yeah.
Right. So this offense can be effective without putting everything on Brees' shoulders, right? But now you look at 2017 and 2018. In 2017, Brees finished as a QB9, and they were ranked 19th in total pass attempts. And then last year, they took a dip even further, ranked 23rd in passing attempts. Drew Brees still finished as a QB7 in 2018. So he's still got it, all right? I'm not saying that he doesn't have it. He has the weapons around him, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara's there, of course. But now you look at who they brought in Latavius Murray, who was someone I wasn't really sold on to take that Mark Ingram role. But then you dive into it, and from 2015 to 2018, Latavius Murray, guess where he ranks in terms of rushing touchdowns, Nick?
I've seen that stat. It's like second or third, right? It's a ton.
It's second. From 2015 to 2018 amongst all active running backs, he ranks second in total rushing touchdowns, only behind Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
Whose time is probably up now. But
you want to go to bold predictions? Don't even get me going.
I got to throw that in there. I got to warm people up for this. But Todd Gurley had 46 rushing touchdowns, so he's been pretty dominant in that 4-year span. Latavius Murray with 32. But then if you factor in another extra year, 2014 to 2018, Latavius Murray is still at number 4 with total rushing touchdowns. The only ones above him now are LeGarrette Blount, who was third, and actually Mark Ingram, who was second. So that kind of shows you, right? They got a very good comp to Ingram to replace that role. So I think this team's going to be very run heavy. I think this defense turns around with Marshawn Lattimore coming back with its third year in this defense. He kind of dropped the ball last year. Eli Apple, wasn't really phenomenal for them last year. I feel like they added a couple of pieces on defense as well with Demario Davis. They still have Cam Jordan on the edge. I think this team could be really dangerous. I think they could still win the NFC South without having to put everything on Drew Brees' shoulder. And if you look at the weapons with Michael Thomas, who's someone who I'm also a little bit lower on, they have a healthy Ted Ginn back. They have Traquan Smith in his second year. They still have Cam Meredith. They brought in Jared Cook, who's a guy who's known for having his yards after catch ability. If you look at these older quarterbacks like Eli Manning, like Drew Brees, their teams are bringing in these guys.
Don't say those two motherfuckers in the same sentence. Come on.
I know.
I was on board with this conversation until you put Drew Brees and Eli Manning. Oh, God.
The reason
why
I comp those two guys is because, listen, they're both getting up there. They're both – I mean, Drew Brees, I wouldn't be surprised if he retires after this year. Same thing with Eli. I mean, are you going to tell me that's not true?
You can't argue the age, but I don't get one is clearly still a great quarterback and has always been a great quarterback, and one is a bag of shit quarterback that's always been a bag of shit that got lucky in a couple big games. Like,
so where in that did I say that they're equal in terms of talent? I never said that. What I said was that they're getting older.
There's nothing. They're not the same people though. There's Tom Brady's 41 and he's fucking unbelievable. He's still the GOAT. Like, the age affects different people differently, especially better quarterbacks than worse quarterbacks. This is apples and oranges. There's no comparison here, other than they're both the same age.
So tell me what happened to Drew Brees in the second half of the season last year.
I don't mind this prediction. I'm not against this prediction. The run-heavy Saints, the defense, the ball control, that's when they're at their best, and the most dangerous is when they don't need to put it on Drew Brees' shoulders. Drew Brees is still nasty. He didn't suck, did he? Like, was there stats that said he was bad in the second half, or was that his team didn't need him to be the Drew Brees of 2011, where he's throwing for 5,040? Like, they've put enough around him, and that's the argument against Brees. And I'm not totally against it. I'm lower on Brees than the expert consensus too. I'm not as low as you outside the top 12 because again, the reasons you've illustrated in these last couple of years, even when they got more run heavy, it's still Drew Brees. He's still got some good weapons around him. He's got one of the best lines, if not the best line in football. So Brees is still going to do his thing. He still has a very high floor, but I agree that the ceiling of the Drew Brees, just like, we're not going to see that 45,000,
it's not
40
there.
TD Brees anymore. So I'm with you. I get that. The only thing that made me pissed off was you compare somehow saying Brees and Eli in the same sentence.
No. Nick,
that
you weren't
just
listening.
Can't be said.
You weren't listening. The point I was trying to get to was the fact that they brought in someone like Jared Cook, who can do a lot more after the catch.
Well, I like Jared Cook, yeah.
Right. And that's the point
fit.
I was trying to make before you had mentioned that I was trying to comp Drew Brees and Eli.
But
the only point The only point I was trying to make here is that they brought in a guy like Golden Tate in the Giants offense, right?
Yeah.
Who's a better yards after catch receiver than Golden Tate?
Oh,
He's the best
He's
one.
perfect.
He's the best one.
I get
right?
it. I get how they're constructing it all. Right. But Drew Brees can still sling the deep ball. I mean, he can still throw a nice one. Eli Manning just sails ducks over everyone's head. It's not like Eli Manning's more out of necessity, whereas Drew Brees, it's just like, yes, Jared Cook's a great yards after catch guy, but I think it's a stretch to be like, oh, now they need only yards after the catch guys for Drew Brees. It's just a great fit in an offense that sorely lacked that big tight end presence that Brees made money with Jimmy Graham. I think it's more so having that big red zone body, a nice number 2 complement to Michael Thomas, because they didn't really have anyone outside of Thomas and Kamara last year. Now they have a nice big safe body after the catch guy, but I think it's more so adding that element out of just, luxury rather than necessity, whereas the Giants, it's 100% necessity in my opinion.
Right. No, I totally understand that. So, I mean, at the end of the day, listen, he still has weapons around him to prop him up in terms of fantasy when he does need to throw. I just feel like he's not going to be throwing the ball off, and I feel like Latavius Murray, Alvin Kamara, they are going to get a lot more volume than we're expecting, especially them also drafting another. Actually, he was undrafted, Devin Azigbo, who's a Mark Ingram replacement. He's a Mark Ingram comp coming out of college as well. So I think this offense is still going to be pretty powerful. But let's move on to this next prediction.